Hey everyone, and welcome to our Q&A presented by Just Love. My name is Paula Jane and I'm talking to Judy Carroll. Judy is an internationally known author. Her books include The Zeta Message, Human by Day, Zeta by Night, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, and her two most recent books, both of them Kindle editions, An Interview with an Alien, Comments by an Undercover ET, and Cosmic Spirituality, Blending Religion and Science in Oneness from an Off-Planet Perspective. Hi Judy.
Hi Paula, hi everyone.
So Judy, continuing on from our last Just Love episode, even without knowing all of the spiritual teachings regarding what's going on down here on the planet right now, I think that most people are aware that approximately 1% of the population rule the planet and that what they want, they will get. And in light of this, and knowing that there are a select few who are in charge down here, it would appear that their agenda is to depopulate the planet.
Okay, unfortunately up until now, I don't think the majority of humanity have been aware, and of those who are, many don't care. They're quite happy to give their power away and don't want to take responsibility for self. The people of Earth have been brainwashed for so long and distracted so much with acquisition and neediness. Their whole world revolves around who won the football finals, what's the latest Hollywood or royal scandal, what's going to happen in the latest drama in their favourite reality TV show, and what reaction they've had from that last selfie they posted online. And so it goes on and on. These are the distractors that are carefully designed to keep people dumbed down. The controller's aim is not so much to depopulate the planet, but rather to stay in control as humanity shifts into 5D awakening. They know they're losing this control as people are starting to wake up, and it's the increasing level of off-planet contact that's driving this awakening, even though many people aren't consciously aware of this contact. The genuine ET's main message is, it's time for you to wake up. Yes, there is an agenda of depopulation going on, but there's a much bigger picture behind it, and it's not all negative.
Okay. So Morris has told us in the past that climate change is a natural occurrence and also that humanity has played a part in how the planet now looks, which could be better. So you're saying that it's not the 1%, the elite, the people at the top who want to depopulate the planet, at least not so that the planet can heal?
No, it's not the controllers wanting to heal the planet. In fact, they're the ones in denial of the reality of climate change. They're the ones who've led the exploitation of Earth's resources, which is most of what has caused climate change. Their aim is simply to cull humanity in order to provide themselves with better conditions. In the greater reality, it's actually the 3D to 5D shift that's causing a mass evacuation to happen for the healing of the planet. A major planetary shift always brings about a mass exodus of those souls who, for one reason or another, choose not to take part in the shift. Whether people can take this on board or not, our time and manner of death is a pre-birth choice. Death is simply a transition to a higher state, and reincarnation is a fact. The positive side to this is that all the lockdowns are giving the planet a chance to heal, which will make it a much better environment for those who have temporarily left to come back to if they so wish.
I was of the impression that our Mother Earth has already moved into 5D and that she is pulling us into 5D. Can you comment on that?
Yes, in the greater reality there is no time. So yes, at that level, Earth is in 5D and in fact is multidimensional. But Earth humans generally operate in 3D, in which time does apply. There are two levels of reality and illusion going on here.
So how does this all tie in?
Basically that way, on two levels. The greater reality and bigger picture level, and the limited 3D level of illusion in which we are focused as physical beings. At this limited 3D and into 4D illusion we call life on Earth is as far as the controllers can control. I include 4D here because our 4D reality is also controlled by our conscious awareness, which is quite limited. So the controllers can control us at that level too. Once we're able to wake up and see past all the fear and illusion of 3 and 4D that's been woven around us down here to keep us trapped, then we will regain our freedom as immortal spiritual beings.
Okay. So Morris has given us two very powerful messages recently. So today we're going to unravel them a little. So he has given us so much information that we just wanted to drill down on it a little bit more. Morris mentioned the interference with the DNA both in past times and now. Judy, can you talk about that first?
Yes, Paula. Humanity on Earth has no idea how much interference has gone on over many millennia. The first instance was the event referred to in Genesis as the serpent in the Garden of Eden. This event has been very carefully edited by the planetary controllers to lay the blame for the so-called fall of man squarely on the shoulders of Eve, who is portrayed as the first woman. Some religions on Earth include all of womankind in this disinformation campaign. The idea of the weak-minded Eve tempting her righteous and godly male partner Adam into committing the so-called original sin is totally ridiculous, and yet this completely wrong and misunderstood story has been disseminated by religion for millennia. The reality is that the first mammalian-type humans would have carried a double X chromosome, so therefore must have been female. The male XY chromosome is a mutation of the original that had to have come later. These prototype, newly engineered mammalian humans were kept separate and isolated to stop them mating back with the biped primates from which they'd been developed. This protected environment is what's referred to as the Garden of Eden. An earlier human race, which I refer to as the Repterians because they'd been bioengineered from a biped dinosaur, looked upon themselves as the dominant human species on Earth and did not want this newer human species to be upgraded any further. So interference was carried out on their DNA to block their evolution. The result of this so-called fall of man is symbolised in the parable of Cain and Abel, the offspring of Adam and Eve, modern-day humankind in other words. Cain represents the lower self of humankind, which overcame and destroyed Abel, the higher self. Cain represents all the lower emotions and vices of greed, lust, jealousy, egoism, etc., all of which are born out of the animal herd instinct of fear, which is a low-frequency energy. Cain killed Abel. In other words, because of the DNA interference, the lower self of humankind overcame the higher self. The Reptarian controllers continue to keep humanity under control through fear to this day, through many avenues. Some are glaringly obvious, such as poverty and neediness, often driven by alcohol, drugs and gambling, but also by more covert means, such as the dumbing down effect of much of the entertainment industry and the effect of some modern music on the human energy system. There's also the disinformation and fear put out by both mainstream and alternative media and the legal and illegal drug industries. The choices we make and are tempted to tune into on these levels can potentially affect us right down to our DNA. Off-planet contact is all about waking us up to this and also having repair done to our DNA. This is the reason why many people undergoing genuine ET contact tend towards a more spiritual and caring outlook, becoming more loving and compassionate, becoming more environmentally minded and seeking out a spiritual practice of some sort. Our DNA is multidimensional and way more than the 10% or less acknowledged by science here on Earth. Also, just the act of choosing to embrace love rather than fear helps us to tune into and reactivate more of our DNA ourselves.
Oh, that's nice. Very interesting. So just a few questions here. When you say the reality is that the first mammalian-type humans would have carried a double X chromosome, so therefore must have been female, the male XY chromosome is a mutation of the original that had to have come later. Is that one of the first interferences with the DNA, or was that done on purpose?
This was actually done on purpose to enable human beings to reproduce themselves. The extreme polarisation of Earth at this level makes it an ideal school planet, and because of this polarisation, male and female have to exist. This is actually a deeper level to the Adam and Eve story. Adam and Eve are also symbolic of yang and yin, positive and negative polarities, which exists at the 3D level of manifestation.
That makes sense. So the Reptarians, the earlier human race that had been bioengineered from a biped dinosaur, wanted to remain dominant on Earth. Can you tell us who bioengineered them? Also, can you tell us who created the original Adam and Eve?
Okay, the Draconians bioengineered the Reptarians and other off-planet creator beings, mainly the Pleiadians, assisted by an earlier grey culture known as the Ant People, bioengineered the later Adam and Eve race from a half-human, half-primate mixture species that the Reptarians had created to serve them as a slave race. This further upgrading was intended to help free the mixture slave species from the control of the Reptarians.
Can you expand on the Cain and Abel scenario?
Yes, absolutely. The Cain and Abel scenario occurred very early in the piece and was the result of the DNA interference in the Garden of Eden. The sons of God who mated with the daughters of men is the story of a later integration between mammalian humans and reptoid humans, which resulted in the creation of the so-called Anunnaki or Nephilim.
Okay. As you mentioned, religion is one of the ways that the Reptarians keep us under control and dumbed down. So this information that's coming out now with the extraterrestrials is a part of our awakening, a part of our moving from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness, and really proves that the truth is coming out. The truth has been suppressed for millennia. The origins of how we arrived on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bible, and particularly the Old Testament, has been conveyed from the limited perspective of a very young human species who had no idea of what was really happening. But it's also been badly mistranslated over the centuries, both inadvertently but also on purpose. I talk about this in my Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth book, and give an example of the huge difference between the words and meaning of the modern-day Lord's Prayer and the version translated directly from the original Aramaic language that Jesus would have spoken.
Also, just to highlight something else that you briefly touched on regarding the fall of man, you say the planetary controllers lay the blame for the so-called fall of man squarely on the shoulders of Eve, who is portrayed as the first woman. You also say that the religions adhere to this disinformation by the controllers to this very day. Yes, this is clearly seen in a lot of religions still to this day. The suppression of women down through the ages and how the awakening process in the 1960s played out regarding women. You can see how it all falls into place.
Oh, it's just so obvious. So much of the real happenings back in biblical times have been either totally misunderstood or else suppressed by reptarian-dominated and therefore aggressively patriarchal societies and religions. 3 major world religions had their birth in the Middle East, which was a major reptarian stronghold. This is why so much warfare has gone on there for so long and still continues.
Yes, to this day. So what you're saying is that the Reptarians, also referred to as the controllers, did not want this newer human species to be upgraded any further, so interference was carried out on their DNA to block their evolution. The bottom line is that we are the result of this interference of the DNA in the Garden of Eden by the Reptarians.
Yes, and it's still going on today. If humanity could only wake up, open their eyes and really see the high level of distraction and interference that's happening on Earth. But too many are so seduced by it all and continue to buy into it. Just a couple of possible potential escape routes would be for governments to really step up to the plate and stop the illegal drug and gambling industries once and for all, and for the whole population to turn off all these mindless reality shows on TV. If people would stop watching them, they'd soon be removed. Some are okay, but too many of them are absolute poison with all the bullying and nastiness that's portrayed. Just one example is a dance competition show that's been going on for years. It started out really pleasant to watch with couples competing in ballroom dancing. It's now degenerated into almost on-stage pornography with extremely brief costumes and very suggestive dance moves that are certainly not what ballroom dancing is supposed to be. The whole energy component of the show has changed. Also, all these myriad cooking shows on TV. Obesity is a major health problem that's costing the health system megabucks, And yet every night on TV we're bombarded with cooking competitions and unhealthy food ads. These are then interspersed with ads for online gambling. Need I say more?
Yes, Judy, I know exactly what you're saying. The mind poisoning or programming that goes on is beyond words. So just on a more positive note, just to remind everybody that Judy's books are available from Amazon, or you can go directly through Judy's website, which will be included in the link below. If you like this video, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, sending you all so much love. Thank you all so much for listening, and bye for now.